After the debate, we ran a poll, and every single person we polled thinks that you're a retard. We polled African Americans. They all say you're a retard. Hispanic Americans also think that you're retarded. They call you El Retardo. We even polled actual retarded people. Even they say you sound absolutely retarded. You see where this is going, Mr. President?
Well, I just had a bad night.
And now I want to hand it over to the President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
The fact is that you and I are sitting here today because this will be your last week of employment. This is not an assessment of your productivity. You gotta try not to take this personally.
Well, I just had a bad night.
This has been a secret project we've been working on for a long time.
Good. And what are you doing?
Sir, you referred to Vice President Harris as Vice President Trump. Right now, Donald Trump is using that to mock your age and your memory. How do you combat that criticism from tonight?
Listen to him.
This concludes tonight's press conference. Thank you, everybody.
I just found out about this shit. It just happened. I haven't even had a second to process. You're telling me somebody finally had the balls to bring a pew-pew, and he missed! We were a second away! We were a centimeter away from half of the problem being gone, and you missed! There was a white man attached to that trigger. I know it! We were a centimeter away! Yeah!
Shut that cunt's mouth or I'll come over there and start her head.
You don't have to go to hell. You're in hell. This is hell. This is hell. This is hell.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Then strangled them, and finally dismembered their bodies.
Right.
Then do and homelessness and all that. And now, the voice you've been waiting for.
There is a secret song at the center of the world, and its sound is like razors through flesh. I'm here to turn up the volume.
I'm kind of retarded.
Well, as you may have noticed, I took a week off last week. I had some family come to visit, and it's good to take a week off every 6 months or so just to kind of recharge, reboot, regather my thoughts. And I was just sure that there would be some kind of major event that would happen that would have me regretting taking the week off, but that didn't happen until 2 days ago. Up until then, it was just more of the continuation of what I think is a mostly contrived crisis of confidence within the Democratic Party. And I say that for a few reasons. First of all, if there's one thing you could give that party credit for, it's keeping their members in lockstep and not allowing any kind of dissent. Think back to 2016 when they openly stole the nomination away from Bernie to coronate Hillary. Sure, there were a few low-level organizers and supporters whose bonus holes were hurting over that one, but all the high-level and even mid-level people were saying, What are you talking about? Hillary won the contest fair and square. She's the nominee. But this time around, with less than 120 days to go before the election, you started having people come out all over the place, publicly withdrawing support for Biden. You've got the major donors saying, oh yeah, the millions of dollars that we pledged, we're gonna pull that back and not give it to you. And fucking George Clooney penning an op-ed saying that this dude has lost it and he needs to go. Any other time you'd be roundly shit on for publicly airing this kind of stuff. Under normal circumstances, Clooney would have been talking to people behind the scenes instead of publicly airing it out for everybody to see. And the corporate mockingbird media, from CNN to MSNBC, they're all reporting on all the support that's being withdrawn, obviously wanting the public to be well aware of it. And then you have all these people pretending like there's no kind of mechanism to force him out of the race, and oh well, it's up to Joe, and if he wants to keep running, there's nothing we can do. If he was just a regular citizen, he wouldn't even be allowed to drive a car anymore. You wouldn't say, oh, well, Grandpa, who's clearly senile, doesn't want to hand over his keys, so I guess there's nothing we can do. And I get the reluctance to use the 25th Amendment because I'm sure he could just go scorched earth and just start talking about all the dirty dealings that everybody's been doing. But you could say, hey, look, Joe, two choices. Either you bow out of the race tomorrow and finish out your term, or you're gonna have a fucking heart attack and die. Instead, they're doing this all publicly, which is costing him support at a time where he absolutely cannot afford to lose any, and forcing the media to have to do this dance where they're now admitting that, oh no, he's getting a little too old. When for 3 years they've been saying that anybody claiming that this guy is losing his marbles is a fucking right-wing conspiracy theorist. And you've even got Psycho Joe throwing it out there that, oh, maybe Obama is behind this.
Let's say one thing that we do have to underline here, just so viewers can follow what's going on behind the scenes, is the Biden campaign and many Democratic officials do believe that Barack Obama is quietly working behind the scenes to orchestrate this.
I am shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
But why would that be? I mean, I thought they were homies. Maybe it is setting up the stage for a big shake-up at the convention and putting in Big Mike as the nominee. That's one way they could sidestep Kamala, because they sure as hell don't want her to be the nominee. She's unlikable as fuck. And on top of her clearly being a total dipshit with all of her constant word salad babbling without even being able to blame it on dementia or senility, she also comes with the baggage of the sordid details of how she got her start in politics.
634 blowjobs in 5 days.
And who else is there? Gavin Newsom? Yeah, that's great. Another rich white guy who flouted his own lockdown policies to eat $400 dinners at the French Laundry, as well as being a total psychopath with a probable drinking/drug problem. I mean, Jesus, have you seen this clip? And a lot of people were saying, oh, he appears to be drunk. But to me, I think he looks coked up as well.
If Joe Biden was to drop out, would you support Vice President Kamala Harris?
Yeah, I don't even like playing in the hypotheticals, because last night was about sort of locking down any doubt or ambiguity, and then we start running in different directions, zigging and zagging, all that kind of speculation, and that gets in the way of progress. It's a legitimate question, and I respect and appreciate it. But if you can appreciate my point of view that it's very unhelpful, and it's exactly the question and answer that the Republican Party right now wants us to have, and that kind of two-way conversation, give and take, I'm not going to play into that. Joe Biden's our president. He said he's all in. I doubled down, said I'm all in. And not only that, I'm here with you to prove it.
And I love the fucking priceless look of the dude standing to the right of him. He's like, what the fuck? So yeah, I think if the plan is to replace him at the convention with a new nominee, my money would be on Big Mike. Although there are other possibilities as to what this is all leading to. One is that they actually want Trump to win. The dominoes have all been carefully set, and everything is ready to fall down. So if they let Trump win, they could have it all come crashing down right on his fucking head. And then he conveniently has a heart attack and dies, and, well, let's just say his VP pick is going to be absolutely crucial. And I literally just now heard that he's picked J.D. Vance. All I can say is, at least it's not fucking Rubio or Tim Scott. And then there's also the recent rehashing of that tired old Russian collusion scheme, which never really fully went away, but now they've been bringing it back to the forefront.
There's real concern among some of the heads of state here and military leaders about what would happen to NATO if Donald Trump were to be elected again. What is your level of anxiety about that?
Well, I think there's reason to be concerned for several reasons. First of all, when he was president, sad to say, when he was president, he's...
And look at this bitch's hands during this clip. Jesus, does she have Parkinson's too?
Defense commitment that is in NATO. And now, and then you hear him say, if countries haven't paid their 2%, then Putin can have at them. I mean, this is insane. I think we should be spending a lot more time paying attention to what this prospect is for our own national security. Joe Biden has been a part of expanding NATO, strengthening NATO, and in a really remarkable way, in a way that commands respect for our country for being respectful of other views and timing. And so it's the difference is, well, the contrast is so great. But in terms of our national security, which is our responsibility to keep people safe, that means globally and locally and in every way, Donald Trump is a danger to our country. And people should understand that. And when he goes off and cozies up to Putin, his buddy, for whatever reason, you know, when I left that table with that pointing to him, I was saying, with you, Mr. President, all roads lead to Putin. And it still is true. What's the connection? I don't know. But whatever is, it's dangerous. It's dangerous to the American people and global security.
But they keep pushing, getting deeper and deeper into this Ukraine war and pretending like the Ukrainians aren't getting fucking wiped out, and they're just begging for the Russians to retaliate for their escalations, with Blinken announcing at the NATO summit that Biden did his little comeback press conference at, that now F-16s are going to be flying over the skies of Ukraine this summer.
And I'm also pleased to announce that as we speak, the transfer of F-16 jets is underway. Coming from Denmark, coming from the Netherlands, and those jets will be flying in the skies of Ukraine this summer to make sure that Ukraine can continue to effectively defend itself against the Russian aggression.
And the Russians have publicly stated that they will attack NATO targets of wherever these planes are coming from, because they're not going to be housed in Ukraine. But supposing we do have some kind of major escalation of the war between the US and Russia, and that's the October surprise, or maybe even after he gets elected, then they could say, oh, well, the intelligence community has evidence that Trump is tied to Putin in these attacks, and so we had to remove him from office because he's a traitor, and then anybody who says otherwise will be deemed a threat to national security.
And you know what that means.
But then, of course, there's also all the recent hyping about the bird flu, and some people think that there's going to be a mutation and it causes a much deadlier outbreak than the coof, and that they could suspend the election because of it. And yeah, I suppose that's possible, but I see that more as part of the long-term plan to create food scarcity and consolidate control over the food supply.
We're now learning almost 1.8 million chickens will be killed at one farm in Weld County because it's infected with the highly contagious avian flu.
Ventilation shutdown is the killing of animals by shutting off vents to basically suffocate animals. Ventilation shutdown plus adds carbon dioxide or heat, which only increases the suffering of the animals.
Or foam depopulation, which involves spraying birds with foam to suffocate them. The U.S. government incentivizes this practice, known as depop, by reimbursing the farmer for all culled birds, but not for birds that die of influenza. Because this has long been the conventional practice, there is zero financial motive to wait and see if the virus is indeed as pathogenic as claimed. Currently, there is an urgent need to conduct research on the alternative practice of waiting to see if some percentage of the flock survives and develops herd immunity. The unnecessary culling of millions of healthy animals can lead to food supply chain collapse, resulting in catastrophic consequences.
Its latest news report, the USDA shows large egg prices around the nation have jumped.
Melbourne shoppers are being told to brace for egg supply shortages for up to a year as the bird flu crisis unfolds.
It's thought it's families with children who are struggling the most. As this graph shows, since April, food insecurity has increased more amongst this group compared to households without children.
Scientific evidence shows that culling entire flocks may not be necessary, as H5N1 doesn't kill every chicken it infects. Instead, flocks should be given a chance to recover and obtain natural immunity against the virus. Studies on this observation method are urgently needed to prevent millions of unnecessary animal deaths.
Unless, of course, you want the animal deaths. Because you don't have to be a PhD level scientist to realize that, hey, we could just let these birds either live or die from this disease, and the ones that'll live will give birth to more that are immune. Then it won't be a problem anymore. As opposed to one chicken on your farm of hundreds of thousands tested positive on a PCR, so now we've got to kill all of them. And to say that the accuracy of these PCR tests is in doubt is like saying that Joe Biden is losing a step or two in his old age. So yeah, I'd say this has more to do with engineering a food crisis than it does setting the stage for Plandemic 2.0. But hey, at this point, I don't think anything is off the table. Especially now that they let somebody actually take a shot at him. And I say let somebody take a shot at him because this kind of shit does not just fucking happen. And anybody that's out there trying to downplay this as just incompetence or some kind of oversight is either lying through their fucking teeth or they're too stupid to know the difference. I mean, you've got an unsecured rooftop vantage point with people literally pointing at the dude saying, yo, Secret Service, what the fuck, bro? And you got a counter sniper right there looking at him through the fucking scope, and he waits until after shots ring out? This is just all kinds of bullshit. And you're telling me this is the kid, not some disgruntled Green Beret or somebody that had actual training. No, this little dork-ass wimpwad. He's the one that outsmarted the Secret Service and came within an inch of killing Trump. This fucking kid. And from the look of the picture I saw, the kid didn't even have a scoped rifle. He was just using iron sights. I mean, even though he missed and only hit his ear, for him to even come that close is pretty fucking remarkable. Oh, but don't worry, the FBI is investigating, so I'm sure there'll be plenty of answers forthcoming. And even though this kid missed, preventing the instantaneous craziness that would have fucking ensued, most people probably don't even realize yet just how crazy that shit would have gotten. But you know what this does signify?
Anyone? You? Anyone? You?
Yeah, we're most likely about to see some major fucking events happen. I was hoping the fucking wouldn't have started until much closer to the election or maybe even just after it, but instead it's looking like the gloves just came off. Sláinte.
All I have in this world is my thoughts and my words, and I don't break them for no one. You understand? So say good night to the bad guy. 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 Come on. Come on.
Don't fuck with me! I told you! Don't fuck with me! I told you! Don't fuck with me! You stupid fuck! Look at you now!